Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Phil.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Chair, I can confirm you're now live on YouTube.
Thank you very much indeed. Appreciated. Right. Okay, thank you very much all for attending today's meeting of the Kings Lynn Area Consultative Committee. The Democratic Services Officer will now conduct a roll call to check who is present at the meeting. And when she calls out your name, could you please switch your microphone on and confirm your attendance by answering present. I'll now ask the officer, Democratic Services, to conduct the roll call. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Chair. Councillor Banbridge.
I think I'm going to go with calendar.
Present.
Councillor Bone.
Present.
Councillor Collop.
Mr. Collett, I'll give his apologies and I'm
Yeah.
founder.
Sandra. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Dickinson.
Present.
Councillor Hammond.
Present.
Councillor Hudson.
Present.
Councillor Jones.
Present.
Councillor Joyce.
Present.
Councillor Kemp.
Present.
Councillor Lowe.
Present.
Councillor Rust.
Present.
Councillor Tyler.
Present.
And Councillor Wilkinson.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. We also have the following officers present at the meeting today. John Greenow, the management team rep, Judith Berry, the care line manager, and also Michelle Drury, the assistant director. I would like, just though, before we start formally, to first of all say that I'm sure councillors here present will like to spare their thoughts and best wishes to Councillor John Collop. His wife, Councillor Mrs. Collop, is present today, Mrs. Sandra Collop, and our thoughts go to John, who I understand, I think I'm able to say, hopes to come out of hospital on Monday. So that's good news. Yeah, thank you. And I also would just like to take the opportunity to, of course, as we all do, I'm sure, to spare a thought and thanks to all key workers and also our officers and staff at the Borough Council, who I know and we know have worked very hard behind the scenes to support us. And of course, that includes Kathy, John, Judith and Michelle. So having said that,
Here.
Well said, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. May I please also remind members that the meeting is being recorded, as you know, and streamed live via the YouTube. By attending this meeting, you are giving your permission to be recorded and streamed. Members should ensure that their video is switched on during the meeting and their microphones are turned off until they are invited by the chair to address the panel. I would say that I'm hoping, I think I've got agreement from her, that my vice chair, Councillor Rust, will assist me in that process. So when people wish to speak, I'm hoping that that Councillor Rust will be the main person to do that, to assist me and support me in that duty.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Joe. Thank you. Right. If you do need to get my attention or Joe's attention during the meeting, or would like to ask a question, please use the chat function, and we will, I think Joe will, invite you to address the committee, if that's okay, at the appropriate time. Yeah. Please do not interrupt other members or officers whilst they are presenting their particular report. When addressing the panel, can you please state your name first so that all those present know who is speaking? Please speak clearly, I'm sure you will, and concisely, and get straight to the point. Please refer to the page number on the agenda which you are addressing, which you are addressing the panel. If for any reason you do need to leave the meeting early, please also let Joe or myself know using the chat function. Okay, I think Councillor Long has already indicated that he needs, he can't necessarily stay for the whole meeting today. I would lastly just say that this is my first time chairing a virtual meeting. I have been to generally few meetings, so please, your forbearance and your patience is very much, I'd be very pleased for that. We do regard this initial meeting, this initial virtual meeting of the CLAC committee as a comparatively brief meeting, as it's our first. So, as I say to members, please, be concise, and I'm sure we'll get through well. And particularly with Councillor Rust's support and assistance here. Anyway, item 1, apologies for absence. So I'll ask the officer to advise of any apologies that we have formally received.
Chair, as we said earlier, just apologies from Councillor John Collop.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, who of course we're thinking about at this time. Can we, on item 2, can we please agree the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on January 16th, 2020?
Agreed.
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 Right. No dissent. No dissent then. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, members. Now, I have on item 3, I have to ask members if they have any interests to declare, please. Any interests that they to declare that they're aware of? No? Thank you. Item 4, I'm not aware today of any urgent business. All right. Okay. And I have, we have under Standing Order 34, Councillor Rees here today. I haven't received any correspondence that I'm aware of. So without
Chair,
more...
sorry, can I
Yes,
just interrupt
yes.
you? So we've also got Councillor Long and Councillor Knockholt present as well.
As well.
Yeah.
Well, I've already welcomed Brian, Councillor Long, and also, of course, welcome to Councillor Knockholt. Thank you very much. Right. So item 7 then, I'm inviting Michelle to give an explanation on the special expenses following a request that was made at our last meeting. So if Michelle is available.
I am able to, thank you. I did send a breakdown to yesterday for distributing. Do you have that available?
Sorry, I couldn't hear any of that, Chair.
No, neither could I. No, neither could I. So
Sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Ah, right. There's a message that her microphone, Michelle's microphone is playing up, not working. I've had a message.
Can you not hear me at all?
No, well,
Michelle, we can hear you a bit, but it sounds like you're underwater and it's very difficult to make out.
yes.
Chair, could I ask a question?
Yes, you can, yes.
Chair, what agenda are we following? Because on my agenda, item 7 is a Lily presentation, and then item 8 is the Parish Partnership. So do I have a different agenda, or have we changed the agenda?
I've been advised by office, but I've been advised to follow the agenda I was sent and not to swap them. But if there is a problem, if there is a problem with Michelle's mic, if it's okay and appropriate, we could go on to the Lily presentation by Judith.
I'm sorry, Chair. I'm following the one on ModGov, so perhaps there's been a different one issued.
Gary, may I just jump in? Apologies, but we rearranged the agenda because Michelle has got to go to another meeting, and so we've bumped her up the agenda so that she can participate and answer the questions that we had, whereas the Lily presenter has got more time. And the difficulty we have is if we can't make Michelle heard, we might, I'll be reliant on Kathy, but we might have to miss her entirely because she has another meeting to go to.
Yes, I would support Councillor Joe's suggestion, but we do need advice from Kathy, from our officer.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that, Chair. It's just I didn't know it changed, obviously. That's why I queried it.
No, fair enough. No, thanks for bringing that up, Gary. Thank you. So we need advice then from Kathy as to how we should proceed. I would support Joe's suggestion that if there is a problem, that we press on with the Lily presentation. But Kathy, can you please advise on this?
Yes, Chair. I was just going to try and see if Michelle's microphone is any better. Michelle,
Right.
can you hear us?
Fine. It's just what you can hear me.
No, it's still. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Michelle could dial in on the telephone, or we could go to the Lily presentation and then go back to Michelle after that. Is that acceptable with everybody? Yeah.
Will Michelle have time to?
Well, what are we on now? 3:15.
She's going to try and dial in by phone, Kathy, so perhaps.
Right.
Yeah, so she says. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to give her a couple of minutes? I'll just see if she comes up on the telephone.
Yes, okay. A couple of minutes, yeah, please, Kathy, yeah. And
Thank
then
you.
obviously what we don't want to do is to let the time drain away, obviously. Yeah.
John could quickly do the Parish Partnership now if you want, so we're not all sort of sitting around.
Yeah.
That will only take a couple of minutes, and then by that time hopefully Michelle will be
Yes.
there on the telephone. Is that okay for everybody? I don't think there's much to say on that, but we can hand over to John if that's okay with everybody.
Yes, Kathy, is that okay? Everybody okay with that? Right.
Yes, fine, Chair.
I'll take that as okay. Hello everybody. Hello, nice to see you all. I can see some of you. I haven't seen many of you for a while. I hope you're all keeping well. Just the Parish Partnership. This is more of an information. Can you all hear me okay? Just give me a little nod and then, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So you'll see within the agenda, I think it's pages 11 to 15, the letter that's come from Norfolk County Council. So members won't want me to obviously repeat that, but you'll see that
Michelle Drury.
The scheme is about to kick off again for this year, delivering highway improvements for town and parish councils. You will be aware that for this purpose, King's Lynn, the CLAC, can put forward schemes for the Kings Lynn and West Lynn area. You'll see that it's on a 50-50 basis. The figures are on the front page. You can also see, if you look within the document, what sort of schemes would be acceptable and which ones won't be considered. Obviously, if outside of this meeting, if anybody wants to email me with any queries, I'm more than happy to. You can obviously ask the county council yourself, but if you'd like me to do that for you, I'm more than happy to do that. There's a list of the information you need to provide. On top of that, we ask that, that as members you seek the support of your equivalent Norfolk County Council councillor. I use the word councillor too many times there, but I think you know what I mean. So if you can get that support. The key for now, for today, where are we in July, is you start to think about the schemes for this year. It's very early in the process, so we want to just let you know. So you can go away from the meeting today, talk to your consultative bodies, people within your wards who have got schemes, have a think about things yourself. Obviously seek support from the Norfolk County Council councillor, and then start to sort of draw up the schemes. Again, we can Kathy and I can provide advice. You can I don't know, for Councillor Rustmont, I think you put a few schemes forward last year, so whether you want to give a couple of sentences from a council perspective of the sort of thing that you want to do that can be done, whether that will help. Other than that, Kathy, I think you may be able to give us a bit of an idea of what sort of dates we're looking at. I think we can discuss this again at the next committee meeting, the next CLAC, but the one after that, I think we need to have the schemes pretty much set up and running. So for now, it's go ahead and get your thinking caps on. So, Councillor Russ, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I will just give a brief explanation about one of the schemes that I put forward and that was accepted, and then Councillor Collett wanted to speak. Last year, I put forward an application for the flashing lights that register the speed, you know, how fast drivers are going, because I live in an area that has numerous schools, and the residents were concerned that some of the drivers were going too fast, and so I put in an application, and that was supported by both county councillors. So don't forget, we have to get our county council counterparts to agree with it. So both of my county council counterparts agreed that the flashing lights registering the mileage was appropriate, and we put in an application and it was successful. However, we haven't got them because we weren't able to have a face-to-face meeting. There were also other applications linked to bus shelters. Councillor Collett and I believe Councillor Kemp put forward those, and also play equipment. Councillor Kemp has a question after Councillor Collett, so with the chair's permission, if we go Councillor Kemp, Councillor Collett, then Councillor Kemp, and Councillor Kemp might like to say a bit about her play equipment. Thank you.
Yes, of course, that's fine. So Councillor Collett first then, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
What I would like to ask is, one is, have you got any idea regarding the bus shelters from the previous years? When are they going to start taking effect? And also I have got something to put forward for this year, some kind of traffic calming ideas for Marsh Lane. I don't know if anybody has noticed in the last fortnight that there was 2 cars in the middle of the night. One of the cars crashed into the 2 new houses just as you turn the corner off Seagrave Road. And obviously I feel that we need some measures down there for traffic calming. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Councillor Collett, just the second part of your question first, that just looking at the list, that's the kind of scheme that would be that's on the list. If you look at number 4, it talks about flashing signs to tackle speeding. I think that's they don't have to be flashing signs, they can be other things, but speed awareness signs are on there. So certainly that's one that you can go away and work on. I don't think there'd be a problem with that. Your first point was about the bus shelters. I think we had 2 officers speak last time, and they're due to come and talk again. in terms of anything specific, if you, I can take that away and ask. I don't have the specific answer, but I know officers are due to come to a future meeting. We'll probably be able to confirm at the end what meeting that is, and talk about, you know, the follow up from the last meeting, which I think you were present at.
Yes, I was present, and obviously the bus shelters were accepted. We had an email, I think March time, to say there was accepted, but as far as I'm aware, there's nothing happened as yet. Obviously COVID stood in the way a lot about that. I just wondered now when they were about to start, please.
Yeah, I've written it down. I will ask and I'll email you directly. Yeah, if you're happy with that.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Could I, as chair, just butt in there before we get on to Councillor Kemp, to confirm and support what Councillor Sandra Collop has said, particularly as I am in the Marsh Lane area a lot. The traffic has become, and I bike in that area, use my bike in that area, and the traffic over the last 2 or 3 weeks, couple of weeks certainly, has increased, and there seems to be sometimes cars coming in every direction. So
okay, noted.
Yeah,
thank you. The road links to the new
yes,
you know where I mean, don't you? It links through to the road that goes up to Lynsport now, doesn't it? Yeah,
that's
okay.
right, John.
Yeah, okay, noted. So Councillor Kemp, I think, was next. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, this relates to 2 schemes which were accepted. One is a bus shelter and one is a play area. And the bus shelter is opposite the traveller site, and there were requests from families there. And of course, this is on the route to school for children, to St Michael's School, that they had to wait in the rain. And so this was approved, and we were asking for this for several years, and obviously we're still waiting for it to be built, but the funding's been approved. And secondly, the play area, and this was for young people around Hillen Road, and it was a play area for small children, and it was to use council land where the community centre is. And this is a particularly popular issue, and with widespread support from parents, because obviously children have been found playing on the roundabout in Hillen Road, and there are a lot of children, and it's quite a deprived area. It's in the 5% most deprived lower level super output areas in England, which is the unit that the Office for National Statistics uses for measuring deprivation. So this is very much needed, and we're really looking forward to it, because obviously the funding was put there in the budget. So I just would like to ask for clarification from officers about when we might be able to have these two items delivered. Obviously COVID restrictions and social distancing permitted, but obviously they are needed greatly for our most deprived residents in the borough. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, Councillor Kemp, and to anybody else who's after specific schemes, obviously, you know, we've all been living through the last few months, haven't we? And things like that have slowed down. If people want to contact me about specific schemes, I will find out. I've written down about the one about the traveller site and the Hillen Road play area. I will find all these out and contact. I'll do it through Kathy, probably be a better way of doing it. So if anybody's got any specific queries about, because I don't have that information, if you have specific queries, I will find out for you. The key for today is to start thinking about next year. But please ask me.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkinson wanted to speak as well.
Right, thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Councillor Wilkinson, Margaret.
Thank you, Andy. Just quickly, I put forward the bus shelter for Pearstead last year, and also I was looking for the date that would be possible. So it's all being looked into now. Thank you very much. Very difficult situation to put schemes forward this year with the support of our Norfolk County Councillor, because we have no contact with him, and it's impossible to get that support. And I'd quickly just say, regarding the play area at, not South Lynn, but wherever, that £1,000 that's getting carried forward from the committee last time was to be spent towards the marketing to encourage more patients and people to participate in using Fairstead Community Centre and the South Lynn. That was put aside for marketing. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've noted about the Fairstead. I'm not quite sure in terms of the county council. If you're not having contact, I don't think that would be fair. That should hold you back from doing the work. I think. I mean, I'm thinking on my feet here, Councillor Wilkinson. My suggestion is that you carry on doing your research and talk to your groups and put your schemes forward. And you know, out of courtesy, let the county councillor know what you're doing. If you don't get a response, well, you've tried your best.
Is that all right with you, Councillor Wilkinson, Margaret? Is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you. I have been to the leader before now because of the non-contact, but thank you for your help. And then I just wanted to make it clear the difficulty we could be having, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Are we now in a position to speak to Michelle at all? Is that the and how it's getting on for 3:30? Not quite there yet. But if that section has been completed, are we in a position to speak to Michelle?
Hi, Chair. Hopefully you can hear me now.
We can.
Yes, very clearly.
Lovely. That's great. Yeah, sorry, I'm not entirely sure what the issue is. I was logging in through my laptop before, so I've been involved in other meetings today, which has gone fine. So I don't know if it's just the connection. So apologies for that. I did send Kathy a spreadsheet on the special expenses to share with you. I'm not sure if she's able to bring that up on the screen.
Yes, well,
yeah. So, right, thank you. So I was asked to bring along some explanation or breakdown on what the special expenses across King Lynn is broken down into. So I thought it would be useful to show you what last year's figures were, which you'll see is in column B, and then the figures that are set in special expenses for this current financial year. And then in column D, you'll see that I've given just a bit of narrative around what that cost supports. So, for example, the footway lighting for Kings Lynn, there are 384 footway lights, and there's a cost in terms of maintenance of those of £102.13 per light, and that's how that cost is made up. In terms of the play areas, you'll see that expenditure goes on the cost of inspections, repairs and maintenance to equipment across 24 play area sites in Kings Lynn. This does also include fence, gates and benches in some areas. There has now been the addition of a new play area, which is Orchard Place at Marsh Lane. And there's also the capital scheme at Hill End Road, isn't it? Which was discussed earlier, which has been approved and has now been incorporated into those figures. That capital scheme, as you will appreciate, is spread over a number of years. I'm sorry, Kathy, you've scrolled down the screen, so I've lost where I was. That's it. So, yes, so that is spread over 15 years for that scheme. In terms of community centres, that's the cost of running 2 community centres. One is at Fairstead and one is the South Lynn Community Centre. The closed churchyards is the maintenance cost for 6 closed churchyards across Kings Lynn. I haven't got the confirmation of which of those are, but I can provide that and go back and find it out for you and bring that back to you separately if needed. Allotments, there are, as I understand, it's the maintenance of 5 allotment sites, although I have taken that from 1920 figures, so I'm not sure if that's changed since then. For pavilions, it's the net running cost of the Kingsway Pavilion and the Dutton Pavilion. There is another pavilion where we do get a net income from that, which contributes to that figure. The dog bins, that's cleaning the dog bins across Kings Lynn. So there are 33 bins that are cleaned twice a week, and there are 95 that are cleaned on a weekly basis. And again, that's taken from 1920 figures, so I'm not sure if there's been any slight change to that. In terms of open spaces, that's the grounds maintenance cost, which does include activities such as grass cutting, the annual and perennial bedding, the hedge cutting and clearance of those hedges, shrub maintenance, pruning, leaf clearance, etc. And so that covers quite a bit in terms of that maintenance that's taken on. And then below that, as you referred to earlier, there is the addition of some new bus shelters, which has now been incorporated. And that is spread over 10 years. So you'll see that the cost of that's now included in special expenses is £750 per annum. Public conveniences. Now, as I understand it, this is the repairs, maintenance and utility costs for the toilets within the walk. But there's only 80% of that's charged to special expenses. And then in terms of the Parish Partnership traffic calming, there is the new SAM that was referred to earlier, which includes insurance costs, and that's included and spread over 5 years. There was previously some traffic calming that was already included, and final payment for that previous charge comes to conclusion in 22-23. So with all that taken into account, the amount of special expenses that's being collected on behalf of this amounts to £504,000. We do take into account that there is some council tax support grant, and that is reduced by £7,050, which brings the net total charge of special expenses down to £497,060. That's spread across the tax base of 10,672, which means that for a Band D charge, that works out to £46.58. So hopefully that gives you a bit of background and explanation in terms of what that charge is for and what it relates to. But if there are any specific questions, I'm happy to take them. Obviously, because I've only been with the council for a few months now, if I don't know the answers, then I'll take it back and I can respond to you separately on those. But I'm happy to take any questions.
I don't know if members can hear me, but are there any questions for Michelle?
Andy, people would like the presentation sent to them, please.
Yes.
And Councillor Kemp has a question.
Yes. We'd request, Michelle, please, that members, or Kathy, that members are sent that spreadsheet, please. I did see that come up on the screen, that request from members, and also Councillor Kemp would like to speak.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you for a very interesting presentation, Michelle, very helpful. But my question relates to the open spaces, because in West Lynn, we're obviously part of the town centre, but I understand that the level of the street cleansing is rather lower than everywhere else. I understand it's sort of right at the bottom of grade 3, rather than in the town centre where it's sort of level 1. And we've had an issue this year and last year, and part of it has certainly been to do with the county council contractors who we pay to spray the weeds. However, the case has been raised by residents about Southam looking rather shabby, and this is quite a concern. And it's been pointed out that the street sweepers that go around the town centre, they also pull the weeds out. So of course it's not just a question of this twice yearly weed spray, it's the question of having the weeds pulled out. And I'd like you to clarify what level of service that the good people of West Lynn get compared to the people in the rest of the town. Could you help me with that, please? Because we can't have West Lynn looking shabby.
No, I appreciate that. This will be down to the level that's written into the contract. So it's something that I have to take back to the resident team and see what's included in there. And then I can certainly bring something, or ask someone to bring something back to you for the next meeting.
Well, thank you. I mean, is it your understanding, Michelle, that the level at which the street cleansing operates in the Clack area is the same, or is it different? I wanted to establish that, because, you know, it seems to me that if we're all in the town, we should all be getting the same standard, shouldn't we? What do you think?
Again, that does fall down to the detail of the contract and what's included there, because that would actually be specific in terms of the amount of grass cutting that's carried out in areas, etc. So I'd need to go back and ask someone to refer to the level of detail within the contract for that area. So I can certainly come back. I just don't have that information or knowledge at hand at the moment.
Thank you. And I think the leader
that,
would like to come in. Maybe the leader's got the answer to this, because I've just seen he wants to ask a question, so that might be helpful.
Yes. Yeah, please. I'm happy, of course, for Brian perhaps to enlighten us on that one. Brian, would you like to speak for us?
Yes, I would. Thank you for that, Chairman. There is a variance between the regimes of street sweeping and litter picking. Obviously, the town centre gets a very much higher concentration of people, and obviously because of that, it has a much different regime than most of the outlying areas. But I don't think West Lynn would get any different an area than perhaps, say, you know, the Refley Estate or Fairstead Estate or any of the other outlying areas. There's a schedule for town centre work, and there's a schedule for the outlying sort of urban areas of Kings Lynn, and I think you'll find that's probably in excess of what happens in some of the outlying rural villages, but still, because obviously you've got more people concentrated into a smaller space, but still not the same as you'll get right in the middle of the town, obviously, where there is you know, hundreds of visitors every day, if not thousands.
Right. Thanks for that, Brian. Is that a sufficient answer for you for the moment, Councillor Kemp?
Well, Chair, obviously, you know, I want to do my best by the people of West Lynn, and so I'm in contact with Highways about the standard of work for the contractor. But it seems, this is the county one, but it seems to me that there is an issue there, and that residents are quite unhappy. Now, I mean, I did conduct a litter pick last year with people, and that was one thing. But I don't really have the time to go and pull out all the weeds myself. I mean, I would do that, but, you know, I don't really have the time, and I don't think that residents would expect me to. So I'm struggling to know what I can do to improve things. I mean, can anybody, can the officers suggest what I would need to do, where we would need to go from here, as residents aren't very happy with the level of street cleansing?
So I think the first thing we can do is just establish what is within the contract for the grounds maintenance in that area. And obviously, the next thing would be to ensure that what is being carried out is in accordance with what's in the contract. And if that isn't, then there would obviously be something that we can do around that. If they are doing what's set out in the contract, then if this is going to be additional work, then that would require a different conversation or discussion. But I think the first step would be to establish what's in the contract and establish whether that is being carried out.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Michelle, I'm not aware of your situation. Do you need to be at your next meeting at 4 o'clock, or do you need to leave our meeting at 4 o'clock? What is your situation, please?
I need to be in the next meeting.
So what time will you have to leave? Will you have to leave here in the next few minutes?
No, I'm okay for now.
Yeah,
so, so I'm happy to continue.
Yeah, I wanted to ask one brief question, if I may, concerning my ward, North Lynn. I am putting forward a request for a possible seat for people to sit down in. Is that an area? Which section does public seating come in your headings, please?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I know through officers who to contact about seating, but I just wondered what, in relation to the work you do and the headings and so on and the expenditure, where that fits in. That's all. Not to actually find out about it, but to find out about the finances. Can you find that out for me? Let me know. Or?
Yes, I'll find that out for you and come back to you. Certainly from what I can see in the special expenses headings that I've provided, I can't see naturally where seating would sit in there.
No.
So, but yes, I'll go back and find it out for you.
Yes, okay, thanks for that. Are there any further questions for Michelle?
Councillor Hyman, Gary has a question, Andy.
Yes, fine. Gary, please, Councillor Howman, please ask your question.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Chair. Yeah, my question is clarity, really, and this issue may have been raised before. It concerns the bus shelters, the new ones. This issue over Peckover Way, is Peckover Way actually in South Wootton? So if it is in South Wootton, of course, the King's Lynn special expenses shouldn't be bearing it. Just wanted that matter checked, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'll find that out for you.
Right,
you'll find. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Howman. Right, any more questions or comments for Michelle before she leaves our meeting?
Yes, please. Yes, Chair, if I might just come in very quickly. It's about getting bins. This is not dog bins, but general bins, because residents have asked to have one or two bins along the Riverside Walk in South Lynn. That's quite needed to keep the place clean and tidy. And I have written to officers, but I found it quite difficult to get a response. I started writing several weeks ago, and I haven't really had a meaningful response. Now, who should I be writing to, please? And who would be responsible for this?
Would you like me to try and pick that one up, Councillor Kemp? Can you hear me? It's John. Yeah. Could you forward the email to me? I suspect you've emailed Nathan Johnson, haven't you?
Yes, and Martin Chisholm. Are they the right people?
They probably are. But if you forward the email to me, I will chase it up personally for you.
Oh yes, thank you. Because obviously with the pandemic, we've got to make sure we keep all our areas nice and clean. You know, if people need to throw things away in that particular area, that they can. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll just say, just in terms of emails, but please tell me off if you think I'm sort of complaining a bit. But for somebody like Martin Chisholm, you'd be looking at 150, 200 emails a day. There's no excuse, but please just bear in mind that our normal sort of response is going to be a little bit slower, but I will chase that up for you, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we are aware, I think, of the comments made by Councillor Long, and I think we must be mindful of the fact that there has been a pandemic. People's workloads, I've been there. I've done 5 in the morning till 9, 10 at night. I've been there, and I know it's no joke. So patience, councillors, I have to say, although that's not an excuse, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. Now, Councillor Kemp has had a good old a fair go here. I am mindful of Michelle's timetable, and I would ask if there is any, perhaps if there are any other questions, Michelle could possibly be emailed. What do members think? Are they happy with that thought?
Yes, Chair.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody. Okay. Michelle, many thanks indeed for that presentation. Lots of interest, lots of concerns, but I'm sure we'll, as time goes on, we'll get there. So many thanks for that, Michelle.
Thank you, Chair. I'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheerio. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Right. There we are now. Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Now, so we've had Michelle and we've had John and Judith. Yeah. So if I've got things right, we're moving on to item 9, the Parish Partnership Scheme.
Chair, can I just, we did
Yes.
the Parish Partnership Scheme while we were waiting for Michelle.
While we were,
I think we need to go back to the Lily presentation.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for that. Thank you for that. So we'll now go on to the Lily presentation. Judith Berry and John's involved with this as well. That's what got me confused. So item 8, then the Lily presentation.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Andy, I interrupted you. I do apologise. Yeah,
no
it's
problem.
John's. I'll speak first. I think you probably want to hear from Judith more than you do from me, but obviously I'll introduce Judith Berry. I don't know, you can see her there. Lovely that she is, a little wave. Judith is our Ask Lily manager, and before the pandemic, those of you, many of you will be aware of what Ask Lily did. We working with the voluntary sector, picking up referrals for people in need, and working with our Lily partners and others within the voluntary sector. It was a couple of staff working away at doing that. We received some funding from the Norfolk County Council to do that. Very successful, and I can speak about Lily. You probably all know, and you probably had members of your family and people in your area who have used Lily, and we know how great it is. When we had the pandemic, Ask Lily had to step up to provide our part of the Norfolk Resilience Cell. So the NRF, which is the Norfolk Resilience Forum, was set up to deal with the pandemic across the whole of Norfolk. Various cells. The cell that we're going to talk to you about today is the Resilience Cell, and Ask Lily was our part of that, which was support for the vulnerable. And we've Judith will be able to tell you a little bit more, but we have a number of staff who have been redeployed from other areas. So our numbers of staff involved have gone from 1.5 or 2 members of staff to, well, probably at its height, we probably had about 15 or 20 people working. It's scaled a little bit down now as we've got over the peak, but can be scaled up again. Should we get a second spike, or you've heard, let's hope not. Let's hope that the measures in place will keep us all safe. But it's been a massive undertaking. I'm 54 years of age. I've worked in local government all my life. I've never seen anything like it. Myself, Judith, others within this team, and many other teams in the council. At the beginning of this, we were working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. That's what it was like. We're not doing that now. We'd be burnt to a crisp, wouldn't we? But it was a massive operation, and I think local government across Norfolk has done itself proud. Judith will tell you a little bit more, but I wanted to give you a feel of the emotion and of what it really meant for officers. The work level has been like nothing else we've ever seen. We've had tears, we've had excitement, we've had things go wrong, we've had IT issues, we've had everything you could throw at us. I think we're in a position now where we can sort of talk to you calmly about what we've done, but I didn't want to pass on to Judith without kind of giving you a feel of the emotion and the passion and that side of it. I wouldn't normally speak like that in a formal setting, but I think this is a little bit different, and I wanted to share that with you. But I will I'll chip in as necessary, and be there for any questions at the end. But I wanted Judith to be able to talk through the specifics of what we've been doing, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that, John. Yeah, appreciated. Absolutely. I'm sure members take on board your comments said with feeling. Judith, over to you then. Thanks very much, John, and please, you know, if you need to contribute more, please do so. Okay.
Will.
Yeah. Judith.
Hello there. Judith Berry. I'm the Careline Community Service Manager. I'm just going to share a presentation with you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. Let me know. Can or can't. Hold on 1 second. Share screen. Can you see that?
Yes, fine.
Yeah,
yes.
we can now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So, as John said, Lily has already been established since 2014. So having Lily in the Lily database meant that we could immediately respond to everything that was going on as soon as it was announced that we were going into lockdown because of the coronavirus pandemic. So vulnerable people were identified through the Borough Council's own databases, the NHS and Norfolk County Council. While this information was being collated, Lily was able to start responding to requests from residents such as food, prescriptions and information, advice and guidance. We were able to store this information on the Lily database prior to the establishment of the Norfolk Vulnerability Hub, which was provided by Hitachi through Norfolk County Council. So we were very lucky to have Lily in place there so we could just get on with it. Volunteers were recruited via Voluntary Norfolk, which is a Norwich-based organisation that serves the whole of Norfolk. The process of volunteer recruitment does take time, and care needs to be taken throughout the recruitment process to ensure individuals are genuine and DBS checked. Central government requires that DBS checks need to be at an appropriate level to work with vulnerable adults. So we can't just have anyone coming in to go and visit people. Volunteers were coordinated by the Borough Council and Norfolk County Council library staff who were redeployed to me to this project. So we had over 1,900 doorstep welfare checks made by these volunteers, which was a massive thing to do. When the resident on our vulnerable list was called by our community hub call centre, if there was no response, we tried them on 3 individual times. If still no response, they were referred to the Lily to coordinate a doorstep welfare check. Details of the client were passed to the volunteer to conduct the check, and volunteers asked specific questions that were devised by Norfolk County Council to ensure that important data was collated. This in turn meant that the correct support was offered. If there was no answer at the doorstep check, a calling card was left for the client to contact us to confirm their well-being. And we did have a couple of occasions where there was still no response, and further investigation revealed that the client may have deceased a while ago or moved. So these are the kinds of things that we had to keep going back and visiting to make sure we were getting through to every single person that needed it. So over 2,600 calls were made into the community hub. This is alongside all the calls that we were doing out from the hub as well. We did over 7,000 calls to vulnerable residents of West Norfolk. So all in all, referrals for Lily came from doorstep welfare checks online, the community call centre hub, through partner charities and via clients themselves, or they completed an online referral form. We've had, like John said earlier, we had a total of up to 15 members of redeployed staff from other departments conducting Lily advisor duties. So we've been coordinating those staff as well and training them to give the kind of support that's needed. Next slide. This slide shows how quickly referrals escalated into Lily because of the coronavirus pandemic. Normal Lily service sees up to 10 referrals a week. And to put it into context, each referral can take approximately 2 hours if it's a relatively straightforward referral. More complex referrals take more input. There was a waiting list for Lily before COVID, and some Lily partners had closed their referrals. So this shows the response of Lily to ensure that each individual was helped and supported. And as you can see, the massive spikes were over the Easter weekend and weekend in the 24th of May. The Easter weekend would probably explain itself, but the 24th of May was when volunteers had got out, were implemented, and were actively checking on residents and finding what they needed and referring straight into us. In the run-up to this particular week, we had 4 Norfolk County Council redeployed library staff who were assigned to me doing this work. So it shows the difference that the volunteers made in that time. We also have delivered over 200 food parcels to residents of West Norfolk in need. This was initially conducted by redeployed parking staff, but deliveries have now been taken over by volunteer drivers. Requests for foods are triaged by Lily advisors. We are now cross-referencing food requests with the shielding list, which is now provided by Norfolk County Council. So the individuals who are identified as getting government provisions, we can see if they are or they're not, whether we can support them with what we deem eligible as well. So Lily is proactively calling those that have had food support from the Borough Council to ensure that they're starting to think ahead and proactively getting their food provisions in order, because obviously the food provision that we do will be coming to an end.
I'll just jump in there just quickly. These 200, in fact, is pushing up towards about 250 now. These are not the Boris boxes that you might have heard of, the government food parcels. They were managed by central government. These were where there were specific requirements, or people had been missed, or they weren't on the shielded list when they should have been. We were the kind of backup. So the government database that they used was a bit blunt. It missed people out. So we picked up the slack, I think is probably the best way of putting it. So these are not the Boris boxes. These are the our supplements to that.
That's all right. This is just to demonstrate our partnership working, how closely we work with statutory provisions in the area. We have good links and good relationships with all of these listed here. And we also have our links with the local VCSE organisations. The first 5 on that list are actually Lily Partners, which is West Norfolk Carers, Befriending, the Deaf Association, Mind and Family Action. We've also made further links with church groups, local supermarkets and mutual aid groups that have sprung up in the area. So I just wanted to show a couple of case studies just to highlight the kind of things that we have been dealing with. I mean, we've had some quite obscure requests, but these ones are on a Norfolk County Council template, so they could see what has happened. I know it's quite wordy, but I can always share this. But it was just the kind of thing that people would call in on behalf of relatives that they were worried about. Also with the shielding and isolating, family weren't able to help as much as they could, so they could fall back on us. And also with the health issues that people have, we were able to support and understand the various needs. So this is a prescription collection one we sorted out. Well, we set up a prescription delivery and collection with one of our redeployed staff who is actually still doing that. So, and it's just making the Lily advisor available to these people. It helps relieve anxiety and loneliness for the client as well, and reassurance that the help is out there. So, and like we said, we've made good use of our redeployed staff, and we've had quite a big team working on this, and we now feel that we've learned quite a lot, and we're also hopefully a little bit more ready in case there is a second spike. And that's it for me.
Judith, thank you very much indeed for that very impressive, in my view, very impressive presentation. I'd like to make 2 points before I open it up for questions, if we may. The 2 points I'd like to make are these. It's a relief to me, thankfully, never having lived through a period of national crisis, that there is, or there has been, like through organisations and partnerships like Lily, networks that have sprung up to, particularly in times of crisis, although also when times are not so good, to support the local communities. Also, I would like to mention the fact that my personal experience of where I live is that residents have been very impressed with the contact that's been made by the Lily and the partners and so on, addressing their concerns. I think perhaps some, and I say this with a smile on my face, some of the residents felt perhaps they weren't in need as much as perhaps people, thought they were, and so on. But I suppose that must be not always easy to target the people that are really, in need. But I think, as I say, having made that very small negative point, I think residents, and certainly in my area, have been very impressed with the setup, and I would like to say, well done. So, having said that, are you both happy for me to throw that open for questions?
We very much like that. We kept the presentation short because we thought members would be interested. This we haven't been able to. We're still in the response phase. It will move into recovery. We're aware you're a Kings Lynn and West Lynn advisory committee. What we're telling you is about the whole borough. We haven't had the time as yet to kind of split the data up and look at the Kings Lynn. We data in the future we'll be able to say we've contacted this number of people in Kings Lynn and West Lynn. We just haven't had the time to do that. But I thought you obviously have an interest in the whole borough, whether it's Kings Lynn or Hockwell, don't you? As members. So this is we're giving you a feel for that, but like I say, in the future we can do something a bit more Kings Lynn specific, if members would like that.
Yes, yeah. Well, obviously, John, being basically a Kings Lynn committee, that would be very welcome. But please, as I say, that one comment, please. That's a very, very small negative point. It must be difficult for you to identify, everybody that really needs to be contacted. But as I say, that's a very small point. Well done. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we'd rather phone, annoy a few people and ring everybody than miss someone out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people were annoyed. Don't get
no.
No. Anyway, thanks ever so much. I'll now throw open for questions.
Councillor Wilkinson first.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd just like to show my own very, very thankful appreciation for the help and support that both my husband and I received. My husband was of the very high category, myself not so high, but to be in isolation for 4 months is very unusual. And the support by phone calls and help that I had regarding emergency medicine, things to be delivered to doctors, the everyday thing that happens when your washing machine breaks down, you pick up the phone because no one was visiting. And the very kind care that was phoning me to make sure we were safe and okay, that we didn't need any food and things like that, actually took my washing and did the washing for me because she knew that I wasn't in a position to keep doing all the hand washing. So I cannot express what even those phone calls, how precious and how important they were, and gratefully received. So I wish to thank all of those kind people that have given their time and care.
Absolutely. And thanks for that, Margaret. Yeah.
Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah.
May I speak, Andy?
Of course, Joe. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. And I echo Councillor Wilkinson's thanks from a personal perspective. My mum was contacted several times by the team checking up on her, and it makes a difference to those, if you're not able to see your family, to know that there are other organisations and other individuals, because although the individuals are part of a team, like John has said, they're going above and beyond, for people like John and yourselves to be working 16-hour days, very and it is very emotional when you're contacting vulnerable people, and for somebody to take Councillor Wilkinson's washing away and somebody else to continue to be collecting prescriptions shows that although it's very much a team under the auspices of the council. It's at times like this that people become individuals, they become friends, and you see the value of our community. So, you know, thank you very much from a personal basis. And, you know, I'm sure it's nice to be able to pay thanks to so many people. But if you could make sure that all the staff know, and that includes to yourself, John, and to Judith, how appreciative we are of the service that you have delivered on such a personal and caring basis.
Yeah. It's very much appreciated. I mean, I think we as local government officers, as public sector staff, and you as members, we now realise why I do this job, why Judith does the job, and why you are members. We're here, and I think we've seen a lot of positivity. I mean, we do need to talk in the future about getting the voluntary sector kind of up and running again, because they've taken a bit of a hit. They're unable to, you know, raise funds in the same way, and there's a big call on them. And yes, that's for the future. We need to, but you're absolutely right. We need to reflect on the positivity in our humanity, in our society. You know, the people of Kings Lynn and West Norfolk have looked after each other in the main, and you know, what a good thing that is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else, please? No.
Chairman, I've asked twice if I could ask a question on chats, but it hasn't. It doesn't seem to have registered. But may I go ahead?
May I just apologise because those messages haven't come up, Councillor Bambridge? I do apologise.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not criticising anybody. But if I could ask
Sorry,
a question,
it came to me. I think it came to me by mistake.
Oh, did it?
These things happen. So
yeah, Leslie, don't worry.
Well, Alexandra, can I ask a question? Sorry, I've been shopping for two sheltered people and two people over 90, one of whom is 91 on Saturday. And I do have a criticism, not of what we've done, but of where information is received from, because neither of the 90-year-olds have received a phone call, so they obviously weren't on a list. One of whom had her appendix taken out just before Christmas, and the other one who broke her hip, and she's just recovering from a hip breakage. But so I've been doing it, and I'm only going to Sainsbury's, but the question is now arising about masks. Now I know that I can buy some masks online, but my two 90+s aren't online. So how is there a list being kept of companies that sell masks? Anybody in Kings Lynn, so that these people can collect some themselves, or you know, is there any help that they can get, or have I got to do it and purchase online for them? I think it's a big issue, because if there is a you know, a follow-up, then these people will still be in the same position of not having any help other than what I've been doing for them.
There isn't a list of mask provisions as such, because they're now widely available in lots of supermarket areas and in shops. I was in Lidl earlier, you get packs in there, Marks and Spencer's, but obviously I understand those individuals having to try and get out there to get them. But if they were referred
I
to
struggle to find some in Sainsbury's. I'm going to Sainsbury's once a week because I have my own vulnerabilities, and that's all I'm doing. But I haven't seen any, and I've asked in Sainsbury's for the last 3 weeks if there are any masks. And nobody knows where they are. It's not your, it's nobody's fault except Sainsbury's. But
if I could just jump in there, might be of help. Would you believe it? But next door to Sainsbury's is B&M's.
I'm not going to B&M's.
Well,
I'm not risking it.
It's next door to Sainsbury's. It's
yes, but I've got a sister who is extremely vulnerable, and I'm not going to risk passing. And you know, I'm not going to shops like that.
If you contact me personally, I will get them. I'll
buy some online. It's a question though that is a valid question, because how do people who aren't being contacted by anybody, how do they get masks if they're not going out? You know,
they can contact Lily, And when we have our database of volunteers, and we also have the Good Sam app, which is how we can assign volunteers. So we can certainly do that sort of thing for people.
Okay, thank you. That's really what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
And Councillor Tyler, just Councillor Bambridge just asked about the formation of the list that we've got.
Yes.
Just briefly, I'm not a total complete expert, but the list came to us in different forms from various NHS databases, and there will have been people missed on there. But we, as Judith said, we will take, so if a member of somebody's family wants to refer somebody to us, we will have, as Judith just said, we'll have them on our list. So yes. The NHS database, you'll probably know through your own surgeries, are not perfect. And there will have been people who missed out, hence why we had the food, we had our own food supplies. But if any of you know of people who could do with a bit of help and support in this way, let Lily know and we'll pick that up.
Fine, thanks very much. Yeah. Yes, that's much.
Councillor Hudson and Councillor Kemp wanted to speak next.
So who was first? Sorry.
Mine was just a very brief.
And then, no, Alex, I'm afraid Councillor Hudson was first.
Oh, yes, sure. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, Councillor Hudson, Christine?
Yes, I appreciate that Councillor Bembridge feels that only Sainsbury's is safe, but I can assure her, as a permanent shopper on a daily basis, that all other shops are safe, and that the number of shops in King's Lynn that are selling masks, as you quite rightly say, is very high. All the pound shops have them in the town, and of course Boots's have them, and Sainsbury's and Tesco and Aldi and Lidl. There is always places when you've got a situation like this where shops do come up to the line and you have no difficulty whatsoever. And there are many different qualities available. You can buy one for £2.99, or you can buy a packet of 10 for £5.99. So I'm sure that we in King's Lynn, the shops in King's Lynn, are really doing their very best. So no one should be without a mask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Right, I think Joe said Councillor Kemp was next.
Yes, thank you, Chair. What I was going to say has probably been superseded by Councillor Hudson's helpful advice, but I was simply going to say that I know it's very easy to obtain masks in the town centre. There's the chemist in the Tuesday marketplace sells 2 for £1, and I was able to go in yesterday and avail myself of some. So I find that would be quite easy for people in the town centre. And I do find that in supermarkets that they're available too. But I do appreciate that some people may not feel that they want to go out to various shops that are a bit further afield. So so I think that, you know, if people do need extra help, they need to be able to contact us as councillors, and we will try and do our best to help them. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
May I speak, Andy?
Of course, please go ahead.
Thank you. I totally understand Councillor Bambridge's desire to just go to Sainsbury's. It doesn't matter whether we consider other shops to be safe or not. It's about not wanting to go to too many shops. But I just want to remind everybody we don't have to use face masks, and we can use a face covering, and that can be a scarf or anything. And if you're anything like me, if you've had a few moments, cut up your old t-shirts and you can use those, but it doesn't have to be a mask. So that's just a little reminder. We are using masks, but it can be anything to cover your face. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joe. Are there any more questions or comments before we move on? I've been very impressed with the presentation and the work that Lily and the other organisations, partnerships, and the network that's been built up, and I think it's a positive story to so many other negative ones that we've had these 3 or 4 months or so. So well done, John and Judith. If there isn't any more comments or questions for them, I'd like to thank them so much and then move on, if I may. So I'll take a silence as motivation for us to move on. Thanks very much, everybody. Much appreciated. If I've got things right, we're now on item 10, the committee's work programme and cabinet forward decision list. I have to ask you all if you would, as always, consider items for our work programme. It is a democracy as such, so we're always very well, we welcome your ideas and so on. I would like you to note that the cabinet's forward decision list, please, if you would. Okay, and lastly, then, sorry, Joe.
Councillor Howman has a question.
Yes, Gary, Councillor Howman, please fire ahead, fire away.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair. Just looking at the work programme, etc. I'm just minded that the CLAC hasn't received a presentation, for obvious reasons, on the big development plan at Parkway in Gaywood. So I just wanted to get members' feelings on that, because obviously the public consultation was cancelled, and it's been a long time since there were any briefings. So I wanted to ask the members what they feel about this, because bearing in mind this could go to planning very soon. And also just to put a flag up that the CLAC planning subcommittee might need to keep an eye out for it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Gary. Councillor Howman, does anybody wish to comment, either officers or committee members, about that particular issue?
Sandra has indicated, Councillor Collop has indicated that she would like to ask a question, but also she might want to contribute as she's the chair of the subcommittee. Following Councillor Collop, Councillor Dickinson would also like to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Councillor Collop, Sandra.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm the chair of the sub-planning, and we did have the meeting on Monday. We are going to bring it back because there was questions that couldn't be answered. There's reports that wasn't back, so we are hoping to have another meeting before it goes to planning, but it can be September. And as I noticed, we have not another meet till the 21st of September. We could be too late in that and bringing it to our panel. Thank you.
Right, okay. Right, on that issue then, there was Councillor Dickinson, sorry, my apologies, Councillor Dickinson wanted to speak. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Chairman. In response to Councillor Howman's point about Gaywood Parkway,
yes,
there was a presentation that Dale Gagan made by invitation to councillors in the vicinity, and that includes me, and I know Sandra and John Collop were both there. I'm sure Sandra will recall. I don't know who was invited, if I'm honest, but I thought that all councillors in the area were invited to that. Obviously things have moved on quite a bit since then, and I think outline planning permission has already been granted on that one. I need to check. But having said all that, I do agree with Councillor Howman. It might well be very useful for us all to have a briefing on how things are proceeding with the Gaywood Parkway project. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If I could come back just quickly.
Yes, of course, Gary, yes.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to hear that people support the request really for a further briefing or update, because as Councillor Dickinson said, that briefing was some time ago and a lot has changed since then. And
yes.
And one of the biggest concerns to me is that the public consultation didn't go ahead. So the public have had far fewer avenues to make their views heard on this one. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Can I ask at this point, officers, please, Kathy and John and so on, whether there is any problem, any practical problem with bringing a presentation on that issue, especially as the situation may have changed. I, as chairman, would support that. And I understand Kathy would like to speak to us. So Kathy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it will go back to the CLAC subgroup. Helen Morris presented it last time with the plans. As far as I'm aware, outline planning permission hasn't been granted for the site.
Right.
As we said, it may be planning. If it does go to the planning committee in September, their meeting's on the 7th of September. I mean, it could be something that we asked Dale just to speak to the affected, to the Kings Lynn councillors again, just something separately rather than coming to this to this group, as he did do as you say, he did a presentation to them before. I mean, there's certainly no reason why I couldn't ask him if he would like to sort of repeat that for the affected ward members. As I say, it will be coming back to the CLAC subgroup. That's what the decision was. So if any member would like to attend that, I know members have done on other applications, they're more than welcome to attend. But certainly I can ask Dale if he'd do a presentation again, or just update the board members again.
Yeah, I see we have had a agreement from Councillor Dickinson, and I certainly, Kathy, would thank you for that and support a possible separate meeting or liaison between Gail, perhaps, Dale and so on. Could we look into that?
I think Councillor Rust would like to speak as well.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Thank you.
Councillor Rust.
I took part or listened in on the subcommittee meeting about Parkway, and it was explained that public consultation, there's no legal obligation to do a public consultation in the way that we see a consultation, but that submissions remain open for the public to make their opposition known up until the date that they close, and that isn't for a little while yet, sometime towards the end of July. So I take on board Councillor Howman's comment about public consultation, but people are able to put in their objections to the proposal, the housing proposal, up until, I'm sorry, I'm looking on my list and I don't appear to have made a note of the date, but they can still put it, register their opposition to it, just to let you know. So and there have been many objections that have been raised around the trees, impact on wildlife. Councillor Banbridge has raised objections on the noise and refuse and things like that. So, urge your residents to make their objections known using the council website. Thank you.
I saw a message from Councillor Sandra Collop saying something about she thought that was last week. Could you clarify, Sandra, Councillor Collop, about that, what you meant, please?
Well, I thought that Helen said that a date last week was the last time that people could put their opinions and questions across, and they had got a lot to look through, 5 pages in fact, and Helen and Dale Gagan was going to look at these comments next week.
Is it? Oh, Kathy, yeah, please go ahead, Kathy. Kathy has got some comments to make. Kathy.
I think that is correct, but I think what Helen also said was that they would still take objections into account, right up until it possibly went to the planning committee. I know they have to prepare their reports, but they would still be able to submit their objections, even after the date had passed. So
right. Yeah. Thank you for that, Kathy. Yeah. Any more comments on
sorry, Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't work out how to do a message anymore. It's gone completely.
Don't worry.
Yes, what Kathy said is correct, that they will take notice of comments right up until planning. And so far, I've written down there were 380 objections.
Right.
So it's a lot, but along the similar lines, but you know, there were that many. So they have to be read.
Yeah. Thanks, Leslie, for that. That's helpful. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you very much for that then. Right. So unless I've got things radically wrong, I have to tell you that the planned date of our next meeting, our next virtual meeting, I assume, is Monday, September 21st. Time to be arranged, TBA, to be arranged. And unless I've got things radically wrong, I need to thank all committee members for their input, for their patience, and thank you very much, officers, Kathy, John, Judith and Michelle, for all your support and help, and others in the background as well. So I officially, I don't know if it's 4:27 or something like that, well, I will officially close the meeting, and thank you very much. Okay.